I believe we have already started the show.
All right.
শুভ সন্ধ্যা। টিসিএন অ্যালামনাই অ্যাসোসিয়েশন মার্চেন্ডাইজিং টক থেকে আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। আমাদের আজকের এপিসোড মূলত মার্চেন্ডাইজিং টকে পূর্ববর্তী এপিসোডগুলোতে যেভাবে বিভিন্ন প্রথিতযশা ব্যক্তিত্বরা আমাদের সাথে থাকতেন, আমাদের ইন্ডাস্ট্রি নিয়ে, আরএমজি ইন্ডাস্ট্রি নিয়ে আমাদেরকে বিভিন্নভাবে আলোকিত করেছেন। সেরকমই একজন ব্যক্তিত্ব, একজন আন্তর্জাতিক ব্যক্তিত্ব, ম্যাডাম গারিমা শ্রীবাস্তবা, তিনি আমাদের সাথে আছেন। আজকের এপিসোডটা একটু অন্যরকম, কারণ বিগত এপিসোডগুলোতে আমরা ইন্ডাস্ট্রি নিয়ে কথা বলেছি, আমরা জব মার্কেট নিয়ে কথা বলেছি, কিন্তু আজকে আমাদের মাঝে এমন একজন ব্যক্তিত্ব উপস্থিত আছেন যিনি এই ইন্ডাস্ট্রির একদম এই মুহূর্তে আমরা যাদেরকে পায়োনিয়ার হিসেবে দেখছি তাদের মধ্যে একজন, এবং পায়োনিয়ার থেকে ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালিস্ট হয়েছেন একদম কর্মীর অবস্থা থেকে, বা একদম শুরুর ইনিশিয়াল জব ক্যারিয়ার যেটা বলি আমরা, সেই সময় থেকে এখন বিভিন্ন প্রতিষ্ঠানের কান্ট্রি ডিরেক্টর হিসেবে আছেন। তাদের সমমনা এবং সমগোত্রীয় জব রেসপন্সিবিলিটির মধ্যে দিয়ে, সেম এরিয়ার মধ্যে দিয়ে, জনরার মধ্যে দিয়ে যাচ্ছেন এমন একজন আন্তর্জাতিক ব্যক্তিত্বকে আমরা পেয়েছি। আমাদের আজকের এপিসোডটা খানিকটা ইংরেজিতেই আমাদের সম্পাদনা করতে হচ্ছে। আমি ম্যাডাম গারিমা শ্রীবাস্তার কাছে অনুমতি নিয়ে নিচ্ছি। ওয়েলকাম টু
Thank you.
TCN Alumni Association Merchandising Talk, ম্যাডাম।
Thank you so much. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Madam, I'm just taking permission to allow us 1 minute for give a little intro from our end.
Sure.
Admin, can you please help to start the intro show? We're just taking a little bit time to start the intro.
Shantonu, you are on mute.
My apology, ma'am.
No worries.
Welcome back, ma'am. After the intro, we are really excited to have the opportunity to learn from you today here. And the way I just discussed that we will go to the episode with some partially, as far as we go for some questionnaire part, and we love to take some question from our live streaming, that as we are streaming live from our Alumni Association official page. So we would love to take some question from the
Sure.
listeners and from the viewers we're going through. So
Perfect.
let's start it from the career journey and some inspiration part, which is obviously always my very favorite part. So how you actually start the journey with merchandising, or if I can say it's a sailing a boat, how you explain it in a very brief way, how the merchandising journey started.
Okay. If I have to answer that in one word, I started by accident, which is actually very interesting because unlike in Bangladesh, where the garment industry is, a very well established, very mature industry, if you go back to 27, 28 years ago, which is when I started my career, India the এরকম established industry ছিল নাই. So for us, we didn't really grow up knowing about the industry. And as I was preparing for my career options, I was taking various entrance tests and all, and I just went ahead and took the entrance exam of one of the world's most premier fashion institute, the National Institute of Fashion Technology, and got through. And it was when I got through that I decided that I want to pursue this. But something that started by accident, Chandru, it was, I think, one of the best accidents of my life because I stepped in not knowing what it was. And the moment I stepped in, uh, the global variety, the brilliance, the exposure to so much newness, so much outside of what my world was. That immediate exposure was so interesting that I think it has been that accident has led to a 27-year-old love story, which continues till today. So that's how my journey started.
So, I already got the answer of my second question. What actually came up to my mind? What inspired
Okay.
you to build a career? So, that
Yeah.
27 years love story with the RMG sector, that
Yes.
is inspiration, and that started with an accident. The both
Yes.
collaboration that you have already.
That is
Fantastic,
very true. That's very true.
fantastic. So, like you s- as you mentioned, you started from the very root level, and
Hmm.
now you are on the peak. So, which skill or habits that have been most instrumental in helping you in the whole growth way? What you would suggest as a leading professional?
Um, there are multiple things, like I mentioned, this is an industry where me or my family did not have a background. So we did not know what it was. I think that curiosity, which actually continues till today, because this is one industry which is so dynamic. It is the fashion world is changing every single day, every single minute.
Absolutely, ma'am.
So that inherent curiosity, that inherent pursuit of excellence, um, the complete non-compromising attitude that that you'll not settle for anything but the best. I think that has been the mantra which has helped me reach where I am. So it's such a vast industry. You cannot know everything, you cannot learn everything. But we have tremendous resource. Like, I am so excited and so grateful to you guys for connecting me on this platform, because it's not only about me sharing my journey with you. I'm sure the people I'm connecting with today, there is so much that I will learn and gain from them. And I'm hoping that this association with them continues, because there is so much newness, there is so much differentiation, there is so much growth. Curiosity is something that we have to be loyal towards. You have to keep learning on a daily basis, you have to keep growing on a minute to minute basis, you have to be extremely passionate about what you're doing. And underlying all of that is integrity. Integrity to the process, integrity to the product, integrity to your customers, and of course the fact that I do not compromise at all. Anything that is worth doing well. So whether it is leaving from home in the morning, I leave from home with my best professional face on, doing every single task. And that I think has been the key to success. You be a lifelong learner, you be passionate about what you're doing, and don't compromise.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely, ma'am. Uh, Ma'am, in these 27 years, obviously there will be a lots of breakdown, mental breakdown, career breakdown,
Yeah.
ups. Like sometimes you feel like you are just flying in your career, the best time,
Hmm.
or sometimes you feel like no, that like this doomsday will never ending, that type of things. But just any little story that inspire you in the overstay of your career or overstay of your challenging moments, which it could be in shipment, it could be in your personal moment, or it could be like some party buyers you're dealing with. Any short story that work like a click.
So, when you say shipments, it's like a daily story. They cannot be one incident.
Absolutely.
That's like a daily
Absolutely.
problem. So, it's no longer a problem. But if I look back on something that actually came out from not a very comfortable time, but became a huge asset, um, I would go back to almost 2 decades ago when I was growing steadily, when my career was on a very, very strong upswing, and I decided to move away. So I had a great job going. I had good growth potential and I was growing well. I had good offers in hand. But instead, I decided to go into teaching and training. And you guys are in the industry. You studied in a fashion, in a textile institute. You know how it is where when you're being successful, that actually can be considered a career suicide. So, but I was very intrigued. I was very, very intrigued. Being a product of a high caliber fashion institute myself, I was very intrigued to walk this path. But when I walked into it, I wasn't sure whether I was doing the right thing, because stopping my growth, of course, the growth in the industry would always be much, much, much better than the growth otherwise. So I decided to leave and join a newly established fashion institute and
Okay.
work with them. I designed their curriculums, I delivered on those curriculums, and also took on industry training and mentorship programs. So one might say it was career wise not a good decision. At that time, I wasn't even sure if it was a good decision, but my heart was there. I took it. Looking back at it, I think that was the best decision I ever took. And why I'm saying that is because institutionalizing learning in a way in which what should be is what you learn in an institutional setting, and that is what I started delivering to the industry here. So I started it was like training the trainers, where you're telling the industry that okay, this is how you are, but you do it this way and things would be better, or there would be a change, or this is where the market is going. And so we sort of, how do we stay market relevant? So those are the kind of things I started working on. I started working on what kind of students would I want on my team, or what kind of students would I like to work with. So those are the things that we started delivering. And then I came back into the industry, having done that, having learned that, having delivered that, and I started incorporating that into my own working. So I think what
Absolutely.
I was teaching people, I came back with the knowledge and started implementing it. So this decision, which was probably not the best of decisions, not the smartest of decision at that time, was probably what skyrocketed my growth and my learning within the industry. It changed my mindset. It changed how I approached my job. It changed how I became a mentor instead of a boss or a team leader. And that, I think, has been a huge step for the growth that I've had.
I believe that the last part you mentioned, that part is a very advisory part for the freshers or the
Hmm.
people who are in their early career. Because mostly, I believe we have lots of viewers today who are
Yeah,
in a very initial stage of their career, or they're just fresher, not started yet the career in the internship stage or in the production and attachment. So the thing that academic learning and take those learning to implement in their career, that takeaway, that process of takeaway, like, not in that way that I learned something and just I dropped it in there and
yeah,
move away, and when I join somewhere I will start over with a very fresh. This is not the way, actually, because you learn
absolutely.
something, you earn that. When you learn something, you earn that and carry it away and take it away with you. Will actually improvise the further steps, obviously. So let's I would like to know something from freshers as well, ma'am. Like, from your experience, what the most common skill gap among
Yeah,
today's freshers, like you were facing in the real
yes.
world, how freshers are acting? What's the
Now, I'm
common gap?
very, very glad that you asked this question because uh, I've been in a position of hiring for a long, long, long time now, and there are very distinct skill sets that one looks for when one hires at different levels. So when we're hiring at an entry level, there are just two, three very basic things, because we'll teach you how to work. We'll teach you how to work in our company, or that's the mindset, because each company functions in a certain way. But what
Mm-hmm.
is it that we're looking from the freshers, the job seeker? One thing which is sadly missing a lot is bringing your knowledge of 3 years or 4 years onto the interview table and into your first day of work. What I've realized is that as you go forward, like you mentioned, you learn and you drop. That's what's happening. When you come for your interview, you have to revise your 4 years of syllabus. You have to revise your 3 years of syllabus. Because one thing excellent in a lot of educational institutions in Bangladesh is that the first 3 years they have a common curriculum, and then they specialize in the fourth year, which is fabulous. So you're actually having a very solid foundation of all the aspects of the industry. But then when you specialize in your fourth year and you're not going back to revisit what you did in the first three, you're dropping your
Mm-hmm.
learning at each of those points. So that is extremely, extremely important. And so you have to revise, you have to go back, you have to stay in touch with what you've done. And I mean, platforms like what you guys have here are such an excellent resource for freshers to be guided, for them to understand how these things work, and then bring that 4 years of learning into your workplace. Don't so your the attitude with which you come to work, that is what is very, very important. So if I'm interviewing, say, a trainee merchant or an assistant merchant, all I would look for is, have they revised, have they prepared, can they tell me what they've learned, and two, is this somebody who will be open to learning? So if you come with the attitude where you're open to learning, you're open to being participative in every area, that is what is going to differentiate you. You come, you join one department, you join, say, like a sampling coordinator, and you're only doing what's told to you. That's what you will learn. That's where you will stay. But if you come with that curiosity, you have exposure all around you. The more you let yourself learn, the more you learn. So it's attitude and preparedness, and that's
Absolutely.
seriously needed.
Fantastic, fantastic suggestion, man. It's a very common question. I very randomly heard about this question, that if merchandising were not the chosen path, like,
Hmm.
merchandising sounds fascinating to most of them, mostly, but
Yeah,
if merchandising were not the chosen path, then which other sectors, like, there's a loss of options for the textile engineers to go, but what
sure.
you specifically, one or two sector you would like to suggest? Okay, if you are not for the merchandising, then you can go for plan B or plan C
Hmm.
this time.
Yeah.
What you would like to suggest?
Okay. So, Shantu, let me ask you this. Uh, in a garment, what percentage of the costing rests with the fabric? 60,
Mostly
65%?
50 to 60% depends on the design,
Correct?
and
So
yes,
that's your answer. You guys own 60% of the garment. You guys own directly the knowledge that comprises 60 to 70% of the product. When you go to a store,
mm,
what is it
mm,
that any customer, what is the first thing that the customer looks at?
yeah, they
The
try to
aesthetic?
feel the fabric.
Exactly. You would
Yes,
see how it looks and then you would touch it.
yes,
Only then do you fit
exactly.
it. No, nobody goes into the trial room unless the visual and the sensory aesthetic of the garment appeals to them. And that is
Yep,
the fabric.
e-
So you guys
exactly.
own the industry. You guys, you don't even have to ask this question. You can do anything. Marketing, fabulous. You know how one finish differentiates to another finish. You know how to make a fabric less expensive or more expensive by reducing that GSM just slightly. uh, you know how to manipulate the character of the fabric, also how to enhance the fabric. So all aspects of the garment is actually very, very well versed for textile engineers. So, be it marketing, be it production, be it industrial engineering, be it, now something like costings and cost savings has become almost a separate genre within merchandising. Earlier, the merchants used to do all of this, but now it's becoming more and more evolved. And fabric is the biggest place where we can play around. So, a textile engineer can actually successfully be a part of absolutely any point in the supply chain.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Like as you suggested, we know that fabric is the biggest part, but still, um, it's always work like tonic when a person like you, we can get the advised that person like you that why don't you go for the fabric? Why you just want to stick together to the merchandising? Like,
Yeah.
um, I personally believe after today, the people who are watching this show right now, at least 2 or 3% will think for the plan B or plan C after watching
Absolutely. I
this.
think fabric
Yes.
R&D is such a huge scope, not just marketing as differentiated from merchandising, but fabric R&D is something that is actually uh, still very poorly taken care of in Bangladesh. We have mills, we have textile mills, but if you compare with our competing nations, while in the garment arena, we are still very comparable, in the textile arena, we are not. And that's not, the machine can make it. It's the person behind the machine who causes the difference, right? So, with textile engineers, I think a huge focus and a huge opportunity for growth is within the fabric R&D space as well.
Absolutely, ma'am. I will go very fast to different topic which
Okay.
came up to my mind. The first priority is buyer. So I love to get some insight about the buyer and the industry, the collaboration we are having. Like, ma'am, can you at least figure out 2 or 3 points, 3 qualities, what actually buyers most value in a merchandiser? Or I mean, as a merchandiser, what's the most qualities I could provide, that 2 or 3 points you love to see to your team, that you,
Okay.
you feel like that your buyer will really do appreciate this type of 2 or 3 qualities.
Sure. Um, well, I can actually just summate it in exactly three words: ownership, excellence, and integrity. I know it's sort of all coming back together, but if you see, when you talk to a customer, what is it that the customer wants? The customer wants to be sure that you're understanding what they're saying, uh, that you will deliver the product that they want, and at least the best possible of that product, and you will not make compromises when you do that. So uh, if they're sure that your thirst for excellence is going to make sure that each and every process within the supply chain is the best possible given their price points, given their circumstances, given the global circumstances, that you would not compromise with the product, you would not compromise with the integrity of the product, you would not compromise with the global nature of the production, and you would own it from end to end. They will know that you are their eyes and ears in the factory and you will give them the best possible. And I have seen that as making a huge impact. I mean, I have customers for whom I do part of the job that they would do, not because I'm approved to do it,
Mhm.
but they know that if I've picked up the phone and told them that, hey guys, this is the best possible, they can trust that it cannot be done better. And that makes a lot of difference when you become a part of the customer while you representing your own company, your own country, and while they're being able to have the confidence that given your environment and your situation of what can or cannot be done in your country, um, that is that is what then sets you apart, and that's what will ultimately bridge you with your customer.
So, ma'am, as we are talking about the customer or like the brands we are working from our merchandising side,
Hmm.
there's first or in the secondly comes
Yeah.
a part of negotiation, the communication we always do, the part when we actually try to give our best or they actually turn to their peak is the negotiation part. It could
Yes.
be for the price negotiation, it could be for the lead time negotiation, it could be for the FOB date, or any additional part they want to add in a very short time, or like they like to bring some change in the style, or just before the CS approval they're turning some additional buttons or this type of thing. So
Hmm.
that was the point, to be very frank, that was the point when actually merchandisers are losing their patience, or are like they really felt the struggle of their work.
Yeah.
I mean, in the whole part of dealing the buyer, that negotiation part, when actually the people who are sitting the other side of the screen, and now I am negotiating with him, and the FOB date, the timeline is not actually realistic, or the requesting change in the style is not actually the time already I have. So just give me, in a very short brief, some advice for us how we can actually keep the patience on that time, like what we should do, because I personally have that type of patient loss in
Yeah.
several times. Like
Okay.
I know I have 7 days. I know this nominated supplier cannot bring the goods, bring that accessories within that 7 days. How I could pack it and like offer them for the inspection. So just given an example or an advice for this.
So, Shantanu, there are multiple parts to it. One, um, this is what our job is as merchandisers. We have to balance between our factories and our customers. That is what we stand for. So you have to identify that, does the customer really need this? If the customer really need it, if it's going to impact their sales, and if they don't ask for this all the time, bend backwards to accommodate. How will you accommodate? Relationships play a
Mhm.
huge, huge, huge role. Whether it's your suppliers, your factories, your production coordinators, your planning team, your personal relationship with them is going to make a lot of difference. So, a YKK, a Coats, they would have their standard lead time of 2 weeks, say. But if you have that relationship with them, anything can be made in 3 to 4 days. Your relationship with your factories, your planning team, they will make mistakes, we will make mistakes. Are you going to just highlight a delay that the factory did, or help them, push your team to help them yourselves, and remember and keep reminding them of that favor, so the day you need that favor you can call it in. So relationships play a huge, huge role. And then by the same token, don't let your customer forget about this favor. So the day, your factory is late, you can tell them that, hey guys, we helped you that day. I squeezed my lead time by in 4 weeks, I did it in 3 weeks. So now if my factory needs a week, you better help me. Um, so build your relationship with your customer. Identify, it's a give and take relationship. We cannot be rigid about our timelines all the time, but we also at the same time cannot just keep doing everything that the customer asks us to. So we have to balance that. And the most important thing is the vertical and horizontal research that you do when you get into a meeting or a negotiation with a customer. What I mean by that is that keep your options in hand. So you're looking at say, for example, you mentioned a TNA. So you know that you will not be able to accommodate. Work out the various scenarios instead of just going into the meeting and saying that, no, I cannot give you this delivery. My delivery is going to be 4 weeks later. Build your
Mhm.
scenarios with your options. So tell them, if we get fabric by air, then this is going to be the extra cost to you, but this is the revised delivery. If we do garments by air, then this is the extra cost, this is the delivery. If we do both, then this is what it is. And then, of course, the plan C, give a fabric alternative, which is excellent for our country. So, you're getting a fabric from, say, Pakistan, give a Bangladesh fabric alternative, a closest
Mhm.
available, and you can tell them that, okay, you want this, Let me give you the fabric or the accessory with a Bangladesh COP, and we will meet your timeline. So, instead of being a part of the problem, if you become a part of the solution, then from a negotiation, it becomes a collaboration. And that's how you solve these problems. You become a part of the problem solving with the customer instead of just being a part of the communicator sitting on two different sides of the screen.
Absolutely, absolute advice, ma'am. Ma'am, let's ask something about the industry again. Like I already asked so many things about the personalized merchandising workflow, but what the aerial view of you, like um, currently the merchandising profession evolved in Bangladesh in recent few years. So, which emerging technologies or tools or practices do you see that reshaping the merchandising workflow in recent years? Mostly, we
Yeah.
just only always talk about ERP, but uh,
But
as
ERP
a
is
industry
ancient
person,
now.
mhm.
Yeah. No,
So let's
merchandising, I think in Bangladesh, merchandising has gone through uh, a tremendous change because the customer's expectations, the customer's ownership, and the manufacturer's ownership has all gone through a lot of change. Things have, at one time the customer used to sit in a foreign country and they would just place orders. They would not visit, they would not know what is going on, they don't speak the same language, they would be in a different time zone. There was no real time communication, and so we could do our work peacefully while they slept and deliver. But that's not the situation anymore. We are connected 24/7. The
absolutely correct.
customers are passing on more and more of their ownership to the vendors, and when they pass it to the vendors, most of it comes to the merchandisers. From activities which were typically owned by them, all those activities are owned by us. I mean, even the POs we have to download, they don't send it anymore, right? It's just there in the system. I
Exactly,
think
exactly.
AI and technology is the single biggest thing which has made a sea change. And I think it's high time that our educational institutes also made this a big part of the curriculum, because something like Excel, I mean, when I studied, the computers were not even taught in the school when I was when I passed out of school. From there, through going through the Excels and the words of the world, through the PowerPoints of the world, we're now sitting on things like smart sheets, like the AI driven tools, which have become a day to day working. And there is so much which can be done so easily. The amount of data you can store, the way you can do data analysis, the way you can pivot to pull out this data and utilize it in a format which is useful to your working. AI is a huge help. Even if you look at collaboration with the customers, I mean, the things like as basic as my robots or smart sheets, where you're having a real time integration with the customer, you are putting your post-its there, you're exchanging ideas, you're talking about so much in real time, which makes life so much easier and also cements your relationship with the customer. When you communicate with them in real time, when you are able to share ideas and suggestions, when you're able to uh, do the number crunching, analyze their reports, analyze their sales trends, it puts you at a very different level. It puts you at a level where the customer looks up and says, hey, they are concerned about their product. They do not just stop by on taking the order, manufacturing it, and shipping it. So I think the PLM and AI tools that we have at the moment, even things like format, etc., for designing, for creativity. There are so many options there. So I will not name particular products, but overall, the PLM and AI tools that we have, I think that's a sea change for merchandisers, and it makes our life so much better, so much elevated, and so much in sync with our customers. That's huge. That's huge, and we are seeing a huge transition in this arena. So right now is the time when it's actually growing and developing. So
Exactly,
very
exactly,
exciting time and space to be in.
exactly, ma'am. So, ma'am, I would like to take some questions because, like, we
Sure.
already received a lot. I
Okay.
don't actually make them passionless. So,
No problem.
mostly they are asking the relevant questions from our discussions. Uh,
Okay.
and some are from very other sectors, separate sections. So, like, I'm taking the Nakibul's comment that, ma'am, what is your advice for developing a new buyer or customers? Should we be more concerned about the quantity or the profit percentage or the future growth possibilities? What we should give the priority about?
So, the first and foremost thing we need to be very sure is the financial solvency of the customer. In today's date, it doesn't matter whether the customer is big or small, whether the customer has been around for a long time or not. We've seen the best names in the industry just disappear overnight. So, as a marketing person, the first and foremost thing you need to do is make sure that the customer is financially solvent, that the customer is able to, at the end of the day, pay for the goods that you make for them. Once you've established that, um, the bottom line of any business enterprise is to make money, to be a profitable venture. Order quantity is not directly inverse to profitability. Whether it's small order quantities or big order quantities, there is a way to make money in both. With big order quantities, you could have slightly bigger lines, so your production lines could be longer. Profit margins would obviously be lesser, but that is where you play on efficiencies. So your pre-production and production has to be planned very, very methodically, because if your production cycle, if your input to output is going to end last for even 25, 30 days, you have a huge play on efficiency. So the amount of time you would invest in doing the pre-production, in doing the operation breakdown and the line layout for that style, for those kind of customers, has to be very, very accurate, because your increase in efficiency is what is going to give you higher profits. Similarly, when you come to smaller order quantities, you'll have to have smaller lines. Your turnaround is much faster. So, there you have to control your wastages, and you'll have to optimize your output within that. Again, whether, how to decide would depend on the size of your company, the size of your lines, because if typically you have bigger lines, then taking smaller order quantities doesn't make sense. Your company would not be able to handle it. At the same time, if it's a smaller company, say 10, 15, 20 lines and smaller line sizes, you take one big order, the entire factory will be choked. And God forbid, if something happens to that order, then it's a disaster. So the decision on big or small order quantity typically would depend on the size of your company. But of course, profit is necessary.
Obviously, obviously, ma'am. So, taking the second question, like, okay, taking the question from Nakibul Hassan, ma'am, good evening. What is the details advice for us to become part of international leader in fashion industry? Please share your thoughts, focusing on operation side. Thanks.
So I would say we're already an international leader. I mean, Bangladesh is already amongst the top when it comes to fashion leadership. And we are on a growth path for at least the next 20 years. We are not going to go anywhere. Come tariff, come disruption, come wars, this, that, whatever, we are on our growth path. We will stay on that. We've to, I would say, evolve in our mindset, because, you know, as early in the past as say about 5, 7, 8 years ago, we used to typically be a less expensive manufacturing destination. So the reason why customers would come to Bangladesh was for cheap labor. We're no longer a cheap labor country. We're not. Our If you look at our wage rates and multiply that by our efficiencies, we're actually no longer the cheapest. We are more expensive. And this I'm saying in comparison with countries like Vietnam, Sri Lanka, countries which have efficient production. So if we want to continue being in the top tier of fashion leadership, we have to look inwards. We have to improve our processes. We have to remove our system wastages. And we have to also expose ourselves to the international requirements. We have to start moving at the speed at which the Western world is moving. That's a place I still feel that we are lagging behind, and we have to very consciously work on that.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'm taking something connect with Hamim. So Uttam
Okay.
Shah, he commented Hamim is known for handling
Yeah,
large
I'm
global
very
data.
curious about his DP though.
So
Okay.
what is the biggest challenge today when managing high volume first turn orders?
High volume fast turn is actually a very, very big challenge because the speed with which the customers work, the speed with which they want their product, when you have a high volume, you automatically have a very high risk. So anything that goes wrong snowballs at such a speed that you can't control it. So your critical path, your TNA, your
Mhm.
PCD is like sacrosanct. You cannot slide, you cannot get delayed. No input can be late, no approvals can be late. And that I personally think is the most important thing, especially as a merchandiser. Your TNA is your Bible. You have to stick to it. And like Uttam mentioned, if it's high volume, any slide that happens will continue for a long time. For a smaller order quantity, it's easy. The problem happens within a few days. It either gets resolved or it goes away. But in a high volume, it just keeps multiplying. So I would say that's something that you have to be very, very careful. And the industry right now is so sensitive. Uh, we don't know what we're heading into. We've been fortunate that the industry has not gotten very impacted, but come Christmas, Black Friday, we will know how the markets react. So right now, we cannot, as a country, afford to have anything slid. Everything has to be on time, so that we are able to accept, we are able to move forward with the times.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So let's come to our regular one, what we are actually going on in our regular conversation. So,
Sure.
ma'am, from your experience, like what advice would you offer to professionals aspire to grow into managerial or director level roles? I mean, we all of us always dreamed about to reach that level,
Of
and that
course.
managerial level, on that director level after a certain time, obviously, not too
Mhm.
early. But what's your advice? Like how we should choose our stair and how we should actually handle the stair that we wouldn't
Yes.
sleep.
So, Shantanu, there is something that we call the 1,000-day rule. And it is this 1,000-day rule that right from the day you decide to go into a professional course, if you map it out, that is what going to go, what that is what is going to lead you to achieve what you want to achieve. So when I say 1,000 days, 1,000 days roughly translates to about 3 years, right? And that's how we break it down. The first 1,000 days, which is about 3 years, is when you learn, when you are in your fashion school or your engineering college or whatever, 3 years to 4 years. At that point, you are only absorbing, you're only learning, you're assimilating everything. It's very important that you assimilate not only what you're taught, but also anything and everything that you have access to. So you are an engineer, but your college also has, say, a fashion design degree. Be curious, absorb, spend some time with that. I'm not saying become a fashion designer. No. But you know their language, at least what they do, what kind of work they do. So this first 1,000 days, you should be building in the skills and building in the knowledge. Cut to the next 1,000 days, which is the next 3 years. That is where you then pick up this learning of the first 1,000 days and put it into a real life scenario. Translate the copybook learning into an actual learning. Match both of them. Continue learning, continue growing. So now you have your theoretical institutional knowledge and you have a practical knowledge. Move on to the next 3 to 5 years, so which will be the third phase of your 1,000-day period. That is where you become like, in the middle, where your transition from somebody who has learned both theoretically and practically starts transcending into a more managerial profile. Now, this is a very, very critical place in time. And this is the place and time which differentiates people who rise up with the people who continue being the doers. It's the person's personality traits, it's the person's knowledge and the application of that knowledge in this 3 to 5 years that will actually define whether after this 5 years you're going to go on into leadership, into development, or you will continue assimilating. I would say write down your goals, and I say this to my son, I say this to everybody, because it's very easy to be distracted. Our market in Bangladesh is growing so much that there is so much scope, there is so much opportunity, and it's very difficult to say no to opportunity when it comes your way. But then when you assess any opportunity, look at it from the lens of, okay, I'm getting this additional today, but how does this correlate to where my career path is? So write down your 1,000-day goals for at least 4,000 days. So what am I going to achieve in my first 3 years? Why have I joined this college? What do I want to learn? Where do I want to come out of? Uh, what do I want to learn in my real life scenario? How I want to uh, apply what I've learned into the next 3 to 5 years, and why I want to do this application. How do I go beyond this into the outside world, into a leadership profile? And that's what's going to establish you for taking on these more senior professions. I hope I'm able to answer what you asked.
Absolutely, absolutely, ma'am. Um, ma'am, like what we already have a lots of question. Actually, I really wish we could go through everyone, but just I'm taking some in between our discussions. I know someone who's from very strong personality from a procurement team.
Okay.
So he just asked Imran, what qualities do buyers value most in a strong procurement or sourcing team? I
So, Imran,
I,
to answer that very directly, the best and the least price. They want the world, but they want it at the price of nothing.
Absolutely.
It's a very difficult position that you guys are in. Procurement sourcing is tough because the players that are there in the market are so varied. There are so many options available. But please, please, please have your vendor scorecard in place. Always have a vendor scorecard in place. It is so important. The cheapest often is not the best. Not saying that the cheapest cannot be the best, the cheapest might be the best, but it often isn't. Yeah, the service, quality, price, and commitment, all of it is equally important. So, as a procurement person, as a procurement team member, it's extremely important that you do your R&D and D and your homework on your supplier base, whether it's local or international, and the customer wants something that does not compromise their product. The customer wants the product to be exactly as per what their specifications are. So while costings are extremely important, on time delivery and the quality is the key driving forces. So please be very, very mindful of that.
Okay, ma'am. Next, I'm taking another question from
Yeah.
Shudipto. Ma'am, what challenge do you predict in the merchandising field in next 5 to 10 years we should aware of?
Sudipto, this is a very relevant question. It's very relevant because right now, more than ever, and this I'm telling you as somebody who's been doing this for a long, long time, almost 3 decades now, the sea change that merchandising is going at the moment, we've never seen the industry change so rapidly. The industry is changing very rapidly. The roles and responsibilities of the merchandisers are changing extremely rapidly. As I mentioned a little earlier, uh, customers are offloading a lot of their ownerships on the vendor. A lot of things, a lot of processes, a lot of uh, pieces of the supply chain that was originally manned by the customers, that is being handled down to the merchandisers of the vendors. So we have to understand the buyer's world. Earlier, we had to only understand the product. Now we have to understand the world of the person who wears that garment or world of the person who buys that garment. That is one major aspect. The other aspect is, of course, the technological advancements that are happening, be it simple email communication to presentations to, like I mentioned, things like the smart sheets, the PLM solutions. These have become a day-to-day language for the customers. Unfortunately, they're still not day-to-day languages for us here in Bangladesh. So that's something we have to learn. We have to be aware of these, and we have to be technologically advanced. We have to change our ways of working. We have to be smarter in how we handle, more effective in how we communicate, and that's it. Not too much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Taking the question from Aminul. Is it better to work some years in production department in textile industry before entering merchandising department?
Absolutely, 100% yes. And I say this with very, very strong conviction because when you know the product, you can sell it, you can twist it, turn it, you can do whatever you want to with it. Also, you understand every aspect of it. And production is the place where you learn everything about the product. So, yes, 100%. You know the product inside out. You know how the product is made. You know your pattern making. You know your fabric. You know the sewing, at least, parts of it. So, when you are doing merchandising for it, when you're marketing it, when you have to make changes on it for, say, a cost saving option, you know what are the cost drivers on that product. Because if you don't know what is the cost driver, then how do you save the cost? So, 100% working in the production department definitely makes you a much better merchandiser because then you know the product in all its aspects.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I would like to take one last question as we already almost in the end. Uh,
That's all right.
I think most of the questions were already answered in between the whole discussion, which is the
Okay.
good thing.
Listen, I'll be more than happy if you guys want to put the questions together and have them mailed to me over the course of time. I'd be more than happy to reply them back.
That's so kind of you, ma'am. That's so kind of
Sure.
you. And I had few questions about the sustainable materials and sustainable textile business. What we are heading to, like from uh, 2015, we almost started this practice in the very initial, and I believe after that pandemic period, that raise of sustainable product gone too high. Like um, in our previous experience, you can say when we chart down all the materials, I must say most of the materials are now almost 80 to 90% are either XYZ certified or ABC
Yeah.
certified or mm, DEF generated, or I'm just giving some
Yeah.
metaphor. So
Yeah.
the thing when we're placing the orders, when we're placing the factory booking, or when we even placing the accessories booking,
Yes.
we are bringing these terms. So that last question, I'm just wrapping up three or four questions actually from three or four
Sure.
different places. What is your vision or what is your advice about how industry is turning to the sustainable textile business? What are you actually will advise how we should um, handle it or how we should get prepared for this change?
See, sustainability used to be a concept. It is no longer a concept, it's a reality. You know, sustainability was something, if you actually look back to where all of us were in earlier times, we were very sustainable. Milk used to not come in plastic packets, it used to come in glass bottles. The glass
Mhm.
bottles that would be returned, and then fresh milk would be brought in that, right? Somewhere with the industrialization, we lost that sustainability and we've sort of started getting it back. Sustainability is no longer an external concept. It's like you mentioned that 90 95% has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, whatever, but some or the other certification. It has become a way of life. And the way we're going with global warming, with greenhouse gas emissions, it better be a way of life. The government is giving incentives, international agencies are supporting, banks are giving lower interest rate loans, etc. There is everything that every agency is doing to help us be sustainable. We make green factories, we get tax breaks from the government. All leading European nations, so many private donor organizations are supporting installation of solar panels, are subsidizing solar panel installation, etc. So there is so much which is available at our resource. We have to go through that mindset change because in the customer's world, the mindset has changed. Sustainability has become a part of their lives. So they do not want a garment made with 100% virgin material anymore, whether it's fabric or it's accessories, like you mentioned. That same mindset we have to imbibe in our daily working. We have to make sure that every process that we go through is sustainable and contributes. So, like the Higg index, this, that, which the customers used to impose on the factories, so to say, they have to now become a part of the daily language of the factories. And that's the only way to survive. And that's our responsibility. That's our responsibility to our earth, to our future, if nothing else.
Okay.
A very interesting saying I would like to add, and there's the Native Americans, they have a saying which is that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our next generation. So sustainability is something we owe it to the next generations to make sure we take care of every single piece of garment.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we are almost very close to our end session. We're taking the last question.
Okay.
I believe this is very relevant to our industry. Mr. Yasin. Yasin, asking, do you feel any challenge near future as in Bangladesh, most of the factories not vertical setup, as well
Yeah.
as very less strength in man-made fiber.
Mhm.
What your insight, ma'am?
So, yes, completely agreed with you that very few factories are vertical, but then you don't have to own a vertical setup. You can always collaborate with a vertical setup. So, as long as you have common goals, you have common dynamics, you can find a platform of growth together. You can always have collaboration because, fortunately, in today's date, Bangladesh does manufacture a lot of the material input that goes into the garment. So, a particular company not being vertical should not be stopping you from establishing verticality with companies which are owned by other individuals or other groups. You have to find common dynamics with them and establish that relationship with them. Man made fiber, huge opportunity, a long way to go. Um, but that's a huge future. That's a huge area for growth for us. So I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as a tremendous opportunity for next steps.
Absolutely, absolutely, ma'am. Uh, I'm wrapping up the whole time. It's already getting too late for you as well, ma'am. Yes. Uh,
That's all right. It was a pleasure.
if you could share one piece of career advice for Textile Engineering College Noakhali students and alumni
Mhm.
as well for the ensuring a long-term success in merchandising.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is what you guys are doing here, that is fabulous. For the alumni to actually set up a platform of communication because Bangladesh offers such a tremendous wealth of knowledge within the country. And even within the country, it's just a few cities which have the entire garment industrial belt. So this platform that you people have, this interactive platform, I think that is such a fantastic opportunity. Utilize it to the maximum. Nobody can know everything that is there to know, but there's somebody who knows it, every part of that everything. So as long as you can connect, as long as you can draw on that resource, you will always have the entire knowledge base available to you. Be passionate, continue to be very, very inquisitive, Keep learning. Don't limit yourself to what your KPI, your job description is. Keep peeking here and there. Keep seeing what is there. And underlying it all, don't compromise on excellence. Push yourself to excel, push your teams to excel, push your supervisors to excel, and you will excel along with your entire group. So, all the very, very best to all of you.
A very, very heartful thanks to you, ma'am, because we always know how busy your schedule was, and I know how hard our admin, our alumni
Yeah.
uh, worked to manage this schedule.
Thank you
And
so much. And I'm very sorry that they had to look at multiple dates and work things around. But
no,
yeah,
no, it's totally okay, ma'am. It's totally
thank you.
okay.
Thank you so much for this
Very,
opportunity. And I'm really grateful to be able to connect with all of you. I hope
thank
I
you.
was able to contribute in some way. And wishing you all the very, very best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
TECN Alumni Association really, really giving you gratitude for this opportunity, for the whole discussion and all the advice you've given us today. And we really would appreciate if you give us the chance, the alumni of TECN and the fresher students of our current campus, any further communication with you for any further advice and any platform we can connect with Hamim Group. That would be our pleasure. That would be really honorable for TECN Alumni Association.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We would love to do that. So I am connected with your admins and let us get in touch and figure out. Actually, let's figure out a sustainable interactive platform with this, both with the company and with myself.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
আমি আজকের মতো আমাদের সেশন এখানেই শেষ করছি। ম্যাডামকে অনেক, অনেক ধন্যবাদ আমাদেরকে সময় দেওয়ার জন্য। আমি খুবই ক্ষমাপ্রার্থী, অনেকের কমেন্ট আসলে নিয়ে শেষ করতে পারিনি পুরো আলোচনাটা শেষ করার জন্য। সময়টা সংক্ষিপ্ত ছিল। হয়তো আলোচনাটা আরো লম্বা হতে পারত। আলাপ করতে থাকলে আসলে আবার বাড়তেই থাকতো। আমরা চেষ্টা করব এখান থেকেও আরো প্রোডাক্টিভ যে কমেন্টগুলো আছে সেগুলো সংগ্রহ করে আমরা পরবর্তীতে ম্যামকে মেইল করে সেই
Sure.
পয়েন্টগুলোতে নোটিফাই হওয়ার জন্য। সবাইকে
Sure.
ধন্যবাদ দেখার জন্য। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। আশা করি পরবর্তী মার্চেন্ডাইজিং টকে আবার সবার সাথে দেখা হবে। সে পর্যন্ত ভালো থাকবেন সবাই। শুভরাত্রি।
Thank you. Bye bye.